Good day and welcome to Punchline on First News Nation. I am Sami Ajufo, and of course on First News Nation Punchline we discuss politics and politics. Today's episode will be something different because we're going to be taking our excerpt from an interview that was conducted on ChannelsTV Sunday Politics with Seun Akimbaloye, and it had to do with the interview that concerned the NNPP presidential candidate, former governor of Kano State, His Excellency Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwanso. And that conversation was about the alliance, the expected alliance between the NNPP and the Labour Party, who has former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, as its presidential candidate. We're going to come back from this break and we're going to x-ray the conversation Seun had with Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwanso. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Like I said, we're taking this conversation from the interview that has been conducted on ChannelsTV Sunday Politics with Seun Akimbaloye. And I love that interview because when it first started, Seun went straight to the question of Peter Obi and Musa Kwankwanso. And that's been the question on a lot of people's lips. What's going to happen? Who is going to bow for who? The conversation is still on. We have not heard anything coming from Mr. Peter Obi himself, but a lot of things have been said from Alhaji Kwankwanso. Well, he did accept that there is a conversation ongoing between the Labour Party and the NNPP. Now, this has lingered, and on the 15th of this month, 15th of July 2022, it will be the deadline for the submission of running mates. Right now, the ruling APC, and Labour Party and NNPP all have what we call placeholders. That means they're still searching for running mates. From the APC, where Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former governor of Lagos State, is the presidential candidate for the party, there's still a conversation between two governors of the same state. I'm talking about Governor Shettima and Governor Zulum, I think of the same state, Borno State, who will emerge. We're also seeing the present governor of Kaduna State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai, his name has been touted to be one of the possible names that will join Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the ticket for the APC. But the conversation on ChannelsTV was basically about Kwankwanso and Obi, or Obi and Kwankwanso. And after that conversation, there was so much talk on social media as to whether this alliance is necessary. Is the alliance between the Labour Party and the NNPP necessary? And I think from the conversation that came out of that interview, a lot of people were not so happy, especially the new growing movement called the Obedience. They were not so happy about what was said by Alhaji Kwankwanso. So we're going to be taking some excerpts from that. And one of the things he said, which was quite, it took me back in time to 2014, 2015, was when he said that people need to join forces to take over the leadership of the country. That particular thing he said reminded me of when Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Muhammad, well, he was not president then, Muhammadu Buhari, joined forces, the CPC led by President Buhari and the Action Congress led by Bola Tinubu, with some sprinklings of ANPP and PDP, the new PDP. They came together to form the APC. In that conversation, we had that same memory when Alhaji Kwankwanso said, we need to join together to take over the leadership of Nigeria. Let's see that part of the interview. We'll be right back.
Have you agreed with Mr. Peter Obi on aligning or joining forces?
Thank you very much, Seun. Well, for now, we are discussing with so many people, individuals, groups, and even parties, and we'll continue to discuss with them, believing that at the end of the day, we should be able to come together with some people that together we can take the leadership of this country at all levels, at state and federal level. And I believe that the situation now, it is highly likely that we are going to meet and discuss the issue of coming together to work as a family so that Nigerians will have an alternative to PDP and, of course, APC. And people, the voters of this country are yearning for change. And I believe we will only be fair to ourselves if we come together and work and bring out a real alternative for the people of this country.
Okay, back to the next thing you might pique your interest in this same interview on Channels TV was when he alleged, I'm talking about Alhaji Kwankwanso, that there is an undue influence from the PDP in the Labour Party, and that is one of the things they are watching, that there is an influence of the PDP in the Labour Party, and for there to be an alliance between the NNPP, his party, and the Labour Party, they need to know that everyone is coming without baggage. And it doesn't take a soothsayer to know that he's probably talking about the relationship between the presidential candidate of PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the candidate for the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. It seems to be that is a very uncomfortable relationship that NNPP seems to be wary about. Let's watch that part of the interview. I'll be right back.
The question is, are you optimistic about the alliance with Mr. Peter Obi? Do you think it will happen?
Yeah, well, I believe that it will happen, but I believe also that there are some challenges that we are having, especially from the side of the Labour Party itself, because there are so many influences, some on their side positive and even the negative side. We have a situation today where there are some people who are in other parties who are always also influencing the decision of that party, which I believe is not good for the party. I've just reading in the social media and even people very close to the party that the presidential candidate is very close to one of the leaders of the PDP, which we are trying to verify. But I think the source is very genuine. That is contact with him while he is in a party, the PDP, supporting the candidature of a presidential candidate from the north in that particular party. And of course, saying that the presidency must go to the south and the other party that's in our alliance. And that's really to weaken our own party.
There's something that Alhaji Kwankwanso repeatedly said during this interview on Channels Television. He said that Peter Obi's support mainly is coming from the southeast of Nigeria. Now, before we go into much of this conversation, anything that is said in this interview that we're just showing the clips, excerpts from the interview from Channels Television, if you have any opinion, please put them in the comment section below. And on the next episode, we'll review what you had to say. Okay, so just go ahead, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, or it's on Instagram, whatever part of this conversation that you have an opinion about, please put in the comment section below. And he, going back to what he said repeatedly in this interview that Peter Obi's support mainly is coming from the eastern part of the country, which means that Peter Obi doesn't have any other base aside the southeast of Nigeria. Many people might beg to differ about that, and your opinions are very important, so put your comments there. But is it true that Peter Obi's support group mainly is coming from his brothers? And it seems to be that what Alhaji Kwankwanso is saying, that it seems to be that regional politics, tribal politics is being played. Let's watch this clip. I'll be right back.
Major issue as it stands today is the issue of who becomes the president, who becomes the vice president. And I believe this is the time really to advise, especially those who are positively behind the candidate of the Labour Party, that this, for me, I have seen an opportunity for the Southeast to be relevant in the next dispensation. In in PDP, they are completely out. So also in the APC. The only opportunity now is the NNPP. Now, we are aware that in the social media, a lot of work is going on. The young men and women, especially of the Southeast extraction, are working towards getting a presidency. But the fact remains on the ground that even the entire zone, any zone in this country, decides to vote for a particular person, that person, going by our constitution, the provision in the constitution, cannot be president. And I think the Constitution was deliberate to ensure that everybody is involved in the country. Well, because mainly the support is mainly in particular zone. And I think the Labour Party and, of course, all the supporters of the Labour Party, especially my good friends and brothers, people of the Southeast, I have a particular, in fact, many reasons why I personally, as Rabi Kwankwanso, is sympathetic to the Southeast. And I think the relationship between the Labour Party and NNPP will cool down a lot of issues in the Southeast as it stands today. Because that's the only way the Southeast can be relevant. We don't want a situation whereby a particular section of this country would feel that it's being marginalized. And already we have a lot of tension there. And this tension is not good for the Southeast. It's not good for the country. We have a situation today in this country where in that part of the country, Mondays, the whole zone is being shut. So many people are being killed. So many businesses are being wasted, and so on and so forth. And that is why I take this opportunity to say that the leaders at that level should think positively so that this marriage can work. They should avoid talking to the people.
Okay, you've seen that, you watched that, and I'm sure you have your opinions about that. Once again, go ahead and put the comments on your comments on the comment section below. Some other striking thing that I piqued my interest from this interview was when Alhaji Kwankwanso claimed that there is someone in Labour Party giving Mr. Peter Obi advice. Seems to be that this person is an imposter being planted by the PDP in Labour and is deceiving Peter Obi. That part of the clip is something I want you to watch right now.
You know, in this part of the country, we have at least the person the people are talking about in the social media and so on and so forth, who pretends to be very close to Peter Obi himself, while everybody knows he has a political party. He is promoting the person in that political party in the PDP, yet pretending to say, look, we'll want president to come from the south, especially the southeast, while we had somebody from the south.
Who is this person you're talking about?
No, we don't want to have to go to that details now, but the details will certainly come very soon.
But Mr. Obi needs to be weary of such
I think he should be concerned because he himself believes that he's very close to him. And he is misleading him. He's misleading the Labour Party. And so on and so forth.
Don't forget, we're getting these clips, excerpts from Channels Television. This is an interview that happened on Sunday Politics with Shehu Akimbaloye. We really need to thank Channels TV for this and being a market leader in the industry. We're still talking about the interview, and there's something critical he said, that the northern voters have their own mind, that they have a mind of their own, that they are not moved by what the elites say. Many people might beg to differ. He says the northern voting public have their own opinions about who they want to pick. And when Shehu asked him the question about what the northern voting public feel, this is what he said.
The North today, you see, the way we operate politically in this country is not very clear to many people. Fortunately, the northern voters have always got their own opinion. And it is hardly influenced by any elite or anybody we can think of. For example, if you look at the issue of the case of Muhammadu Buhari, over the years, the northern voters decided that it was him. And even when the elites, most of the elites didn't like him, they still don't like him, but they made up their minds over the years that any time we had an election, he will have certain votes from the northern voters. And these northern voters, again, have made up their minds on what to do.
Right now?
Vote. Oh, yes. There is nothing, nobody, no
now,
elite.
Have they made up your mind? Who are they hoping to vote for?
The northern, certainly NNPP. Nobody can change it.
I mean, you say you do. How did you know this?
I'm just from going around the country, and we have our structures everywhere. And that's the situation.
Well, I'm sure at this point in time, there's a lot of people, especially those who are self-styled obedience, are really objecting to this. But we're not done. We're not done. In this interview, Alhaji Kwankwanso also said that the IPOB, he didn't really say that in clear terms, but we know where he was heading to, that the IPOB and the agitation and the sit at home have caused a lot of concern in the north, that if an Igbo candidate, a candidate from eastern Nigeria, is sitting on the ticket of any party in the forthcoming presidential elections, that candidate and that party will lose because the northerners are not happy about the agitations in the east. That's part of this interview, and you're going to watch that right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is what the enemy outside there is saying. The implication is that if you put somebody from the southeast, unfortunately, there are many issues in the southeast. You see, northern voter is the worst hit on this issue of maladministration in this country. But even under that circumstance, a northern voter also believes that he is better with one united Nigeria. And therefore, most of the things that are happening in the south, especially in the southeast, people are not comfortable with that. And as long as you have somebody from there in any party, it will be very difficult for the northern voters to vote. And that's the situation now. And those workers who are against, in the actual sense, working against LP, Southeast, and so on, what they believe is if you put anybody under this arrangement from that side of the country, the northern voters will not vote. And who will they vote? Their own candidate in the southeast, I mean in the north.
Before we go ahead, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at First News Nation, on our Facebook at First News Nation, Twitter First News Nation, and Instagram First News Nation. Let's go for a short break. Don't forget, I am Sammy Ajufo. There's more after this.
This is Niger Feedback.
We're back. We're still on the interview conducted on Channels Television Sunday Politics with Shewa Kimbaloye that featured the NNPP presidential candidate, former governor of Kano State, His Excellency Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwanso, talking basically about what happened, what's happening with this much expected alliance between the NNPP and the Labour Party being led by Mr. Peter Obi. We just mentioned here that the Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have come together and rallied and said, well, we want our candidate to win. Every worker in Nigeria must vote Peter Obi. Well, Mr. Kwankwanso had some things to say about that. I think we should watch that because he said that his party is more Labour-oriented than even the Labour Party. We'll be right back.
There is just no spread. And the figures there cannot earn anybody presidential seat in this country.
But they're saying that they have the workers, the labor behind them.
Well, maybe you don't know the history of the labor itself. We tried to be in the labor when we were sourcing for a particular party. After INEC told us clearly that it was not willing to register any party between 2019 and 2023, the party was actually factionalized. If the labor is there, of course, and the Labour is a union, is all for all of us, especially the NNPP, because we are the people, we are the party that actually is sympathetic to workers in this country. I was a civil servant myself for 17 years in Kano. So ordinarily, if not because of what I'm doing now, I would have been a retired officer myself. This is the situation as it stands today.
Now, when asked the question, will you want to be a running mate to Mr. Peter Obi, he had stated before about the mindset of the average Northern voter. And he said, well, he's not doing anything at the moment. He won't mind being on a ticket as a vice president. But if he does, that the party will lose. The party being whether or not it's going to be NNPP that will be fielded if Peter Obi is made presidential candidate and he is made vice. That if he is made vice, he doesn't mind, but he will lose and the party will lose and Mr. Peter Obi will lose because the Northern voters would not want an Easterner because of what's happening in the East. Watch this.
Now, you see, the game plan was to make sure that Southeast is not involved in this project. And the implication is that now is double-edged sword. If, for example, anybody, I'm not too particular about Peter, anybody from the Southeast, under this circumstance, will be very difficult, really, for voters, because they have made up their minds.
So, can you or would you be a running mate to Peter Obi?
That's what I'm saying.
Would you like to be as a person, personally?
Ordinarily, you see, I'm jobless now. I'm not doing any job. So to become a vice president,
you can be a vice president.
But what I'm telling you is that if anybody from the South is now under this circumstance, becomes the presidential candidate of our party or any other party, the implication is that because of the activities and many other issues that are real on the ground, Northern voters will certainly go for their Northern candidate in another party.
So the thinking is
the thinking is that it's not whether I like it or I don't like it. The fact remains that
the numbers,
everybody will lose. The number, he will lose, I will lose.
So if Peter Obi is coming to join you, it will be your running mate.
As long as you want to vote from the North, that's the situation, fortunately or unfortunately, today.
Now, two more things to watch. It's a very comprehensive interview and very wonderful one. Once again, we want to give our big ups to Channels Television, always innovative. About social media, the question was asked whether the NNPP is afraid of social media influence. And well, he said that they're on ground, that they're not afraid, that the realities on ground are different from what is being peddled on social media, which means that the social media audience probably will not be as effective at that on ground. This is a bit controversial, and I really love you to put your comments on this in our comment section. What do you think? Many people are feeling that the same movement for the NSAS will be the same movement, the same push for what's going on come 2023 presidential election. Is it going to make any impact? Is there going to be, because it was the NSAS movement, people say, well, just in Lagos and scattering of the places, but we're talking on a national scale right now.
So, I'm very sure that you are quite familiar with what is happening online. There is a popular saying now that obedience is better than sacrifice. Have you heard that?
Because we have seen the Labour Party and the candidate himself, especially in the last few months, so many activities are taking place, especially in the social media you mentioned.
You think that the presence is not really on the ground, it's on social media?
Ordinarily, though some of us who are infantry on the ground, under normal circumstances, are not worried about people up there.